Ontario's unions buying up elections with advertising. I'm Brian Lilly with TheRebel.media. We've talked about this before. Ontario's labour movement, in particular its construction trades and its public sector unions, they've been buying up Ontario elections for a long time by spending millions of dollars to try and persuade their fellow citizens how to vote. And it's worked. They've elected Liberal government since 2003. But we now have a better idea of the full extent of their advertising. A report in the Globe and Mail by Adrian Morrow, one of the few reporters at Queen's Park still doing real digging, shows that 94% of all third-party advertising in the last three Ontario elections has come from unions, and almost all of it has been directed at taking on the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario, knocking off their leaders, Tim Hudak, John Tory, before that, Ernie Eves. But they just look at the last three elections. $15.4 million worth of spending compared to $641,000 from corporate Canada and $409,000 from other advocacy groups. But almost all of it comes from unions. Let me give you an example of how out of touch this is with reality. In the last election, in the last provincial election, parties were allowed to spend $7.4 million. Do you know what unions spent trying to beat the PCs, trying to make sure that Tim Hudak was never elected premier? $8.4 million. That's right. The union movement outspent the parties. They spent more than the parties were legally allowed to spend. That allowed Kathleen Wynne, since almost all the union money was on anti-Hudak ads, that allowed Kathleen Wynne to just spend her millions of dollars on advertising on positive ads, her running through the Ontario countryside, showing that she really cares and thinks about what matters to you. It's time to rein this in. If we're going to limit how much political parties can spend, then isn't it time that we started limiting what the unions can spend? Isn't it time that we brought in some rules to the wild, wild west? Ontario's already been shown to be a pay-for-play province, with the cabinet ministers in Wynne's government holding regular fundraisers, taking in thousands of dollars from the people they regulate and then turning around and giving them exactly what they've been lobbying for in the first place. Maybe it's time to regulate election spending. I'd rather not go this route. I'd rather be a free-for-all type person. But we're not doing that with the parties. And let's face it, if corporate Canada was getting behind the PCs, which is a laughable thought, they wouldn't do that. Corporate Canada just is out for itself. They don't have a political agenda, and they're definitely not conservative. But if they were, there would be a huge outcry to regulate corporate spending. So why not regulate the unions? It's time Ontario got with the program. It's time Ontario was dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of The Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.